It never hurt nobody. Why I'm standing on the wall. I don't want to knock at somebody. Come on in the room. Oh, come on in the room. Hello. Come on in, come on in, come on in. Come on in, come on in, come on in. Come on in, come on in. Come on in, come on in. Hello, 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 hello. Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone. Good morning. Good morning. Happy Sunday. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Oh, that's what I meant to get. Hold on, I'll be right back. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Put some bells in the comments for me and tap the screen and let me know that you're here. We're calling in all of our spirits. We're going to get started. I get so excited for these moments. Tokoza, tokozania makos, tokozania makulu, tokozani bokoko na bomkulu, tokoza, tokozania maket, tokozani situna, tokoza, tokozani. We greet you, soil of my soil, bone of my bone, flesh of my flesh, blood of my blood. We greet you. Great ancestors, we call you in and we greet you on today. We greet you on today. We greet you, oh great spirits who walk with us. Oh great spirits who walk with us, those who live inside of our cellular structure, those who minister to us in the midnight hour when things seem to be going wrong. We bless you for your presence with us here on today. We bless you, O ancestors. We bless you, O great ones, O ascended ones. Those who come with messages of peace and protection and provision from the Most High. We give thanks to you for walking with us, for protecting us, for guiding us, for being there with us in the midnight hour, for being there with us when no one understands, when we don't know what's going on. Our ancestors are always there as ministering spirits to us. We thank you for your presence with us here today. Thank you so much for showing up for us. Thank you so much for your guidance. Thank you so much for the insight and for the wisdom. We thank you, those who sit at the right hand of the Creator, those who bring us blessings and wisdom and encouragement and guidance. We thank you. We thank you. We thank you. I thank you so much for coming in and for sharing this space with me. This is only my second time going live on TikTok. And so I thank you so much for all of you who have joined, all of you who are connected to this work that we are doing here on TikTok. I do not take it lightly. This is not just some other social media space. I don't have a gimmick. I don't have I'm not a content creator. I am just doing what I've been called to do, and that is to share the message of the ancestral connection that walks with us, the ancestral connection that we all have. This is, in fact, my ministry. This is the work that I've been called to do. When I was in the church, I was a preacher. I think I will always be a preacher. That is the way that my spirit is activated when it comes to sharing certain kinds of information, spiritual information. I spent many years in the church, many years in the church as an evangelist, as a prophetess, and as a pastor. And my journey has taken me in a full circle, almost as it were, a full circle kind of experience. I left the church around 2012. I left Christianity as a belief system around that time and went on a journey. It took me a long time to come back to this place where I feel like I can now help people to bridge the gap. Those people who are looking to leave organized religion and are looking for something more holistic. You're looking for something more connected and rooted to your ancestors. You want to begin your ancestral reverence practice. That is who I am called to. So yes, sometimes we're going to use the Bible on these lives, and sometimes we're not. Today is one of those days where we're not going to be using the Bible primarily. I may quote a scripture as it comes to me, but I'm not going to be taking a text like I did from on last Sunday. Today, we're just going to be talking about the nature of hoodoo and what hoodoo is and the kind of practice that hoodoo is. Hoodoo has gotten kind of a bad rap, as it were, especially here in the States. And then, of course, globally, as a consequence, many people call hoodoo nonsense. They say, I don't do that hoodoo voodoo nonsense. And I want to just let you know that it's not nonsense. It's not what the Europeans mistakenly call mumbo jumbo. And the reason why I say it's mistakenly is because Mama Jumbo is actually a divinity in I believe it's a Central African country. She is, in fact, a divine mother goddess. And anything that they don't understand, they demonize. So in my previous live, we talked about challenging your assumptions when it comes to this practice. There are hoodoos who are not church hoodoos. I'm a church hoodoo because I come from church. I come from people who come from church, and my ancestors are church. I got churchy ancestors. So I'm a churchy hoodoo, which means that I do use the Bible sometimes. But I use the Bible just like I use my oracle cards, just like I use my pendulum, just like I use my candles and my herbs. It's a tool. I am not a person who believes in saviors. I don't believe that anyone can save you from anything except yourself. You've got to do the work. Even if you're drowning and I lower down a ladder from a helicopter, you got to reach up and grab that ladder and climb up on. And so in every instance, you save yourself unless you are completely incapacitated. And, that's a different kind of thing. But for most of us, especially when it comes to spiritual things and spirituality, understand that it takes your active participation. And that is one of the things that I like about hoodoo. One of the things I love about hoodoo as an embodied practice is that it requires your participation. So an embodied practice is a method of using your body's sensations and movements to cultivate awareness, to bring about self-regulation, and to make and secure connections to oneself and to others. And so that's the very basic definition of what an embodied practice is. It means that your body is a part of the practice. It's not just words that you speak. It's not just spells or incantations that you do, but your body, your being, your essence, your energy, your ashe, your chi is in fact necessary to facilitate self-regulation, to cultivate awareness, and to bring and build connections between within yourself and between you and other people. Okay. So this is something that we understand, those of us who've been practicing hoodoo for any number of years, whether in the church or out of the church. There are times where within our body, within our physical experience, we may experience overwhelming sense of grief, or an overwhelming sense of joy, or the overwhelming desire to move and to dance. That's one of the reasons why I use that Beyonce song on the advertising post for this live, about get embodied, right? And what she say, I'm not worried, I'm doing me tonight. A little sweat ain't never hurt nobody. And why you standing on the wall and you acting like you don't want to get embodied, you acting like you don't want this thing to get all down into your body. And understanding that an embodied practice is more than just a feeling. It's more than just you feeling like, oh, I want to move, or I want to dance, or I want to twirl, I want to spin, I want to jump. It's more than that. It involves attending to your physical sensations and then integrating that information into your overall experience of yourself and the world. So it's more than just, oh, we had church today and we shouted and we praised. Now you've got to take that sensation and the energy that it has cultivated within you, and now you've got to integrate that. And I think that's where so many people lose it, even with religion, with religious experiences, even spiritual experiences. You can go and you can have ayahuasca. You can go and you can do an ayahuasca ceremony. You can do a peyote ceremony, or you can do sacred mushrooms or whatever, and you can have that experience. But if you don't integrate that experience into your daily lived experience, your daily life, then it is not a practice of embodiment. Okay, and so that's what we're talking about here today, is that hoodoo is a practice that is it's an embodied practice. Okay, and it is a uniquely personal form of spiritual self-expression. Hoodoo is a uniquely personal form of spiritual expression. Okay, embodied practices are used for healing, self-discovery, and personal growth. And so that's why in some of my other videos, you will notice me saying things like, no two altars are going to look the same. And even your altars, after you clean it and you rearrange it for a new season in your life, it's not going to look the same as it did before, because and we're talking about an embodied practice. It's one that lives and breathes and grows with you. Okay. It is not stagnant. Certain religious practices are stagnant. Okay. This is the liturgy. This is what you sing. You sing this many times. You stand, you kneel, you sit. It's all laid out, and it's ordered for you. There's an order of service, if you will, with most religious practices. There's a way that you do things and a way that you approach your practice, and it's set out for you, right? It's nothing that you came up with intuitively. You're told this is the way that you do things. Well, the beauty about hoodoo is that it is so uniquely and distinctly personal. And whatever you and your family and your lineage do, is how it's done. But the purpose is of hoodoo is not about saying my way is better than your way. Chesapeake hoodoo is better than Gullah hoodoo, or Mississippi hoodoo is better than North Carolina hoodoo. It's not. That's not the point, right? Because that's not true. The point is, however you practice, whatever it is that you practice, are you bringing that knowledge, that wisdom, that experience, those sensations, are you bringing that into your daily life? Are you integrating the experiences that you have in ceremony, the experiences that you have at your altar, the experiences that you have in meditation and in prayer? Are you bringing that wisdom, that knowledge, and that understanding into your daily life? You're going to encounter things in your daily life where you won't have time to light a candle. You won't have time to burn incense. You won't have time to burn herbs or to sing a song or to do a ring shout. You're going to have the herbs and the ring shout and the prayer and the meditation and the clapping and all of that within you. Okay, because you're not going to be able to do it in that immediate situation. But what you will have is the embodied experience and the wisdom that comes from that to be able to pull on it in any given situation. Okay, so hoodoo is a holistic lifestyle. It's more than just a spiritual practice. It is a holistic lifestyle. Okay. And holistic is not a woo-woo term. All that means is that it touches every aspect of your life. Hoodoo touches your psychological needs. It touches your physical needs for movement and to move energy. It touches your emotional needs to release that energy. It touches your spiritual needs. Okay, it can help with your finances, with your romantic life, your sex life, your everything is touched by an embodied practice. And that's what hoodoo is. It's an embodied practice. Okay. Some of the key principles of an embodied practice include body awareness, the mind-body connection, self-regulation, presence and mindfulness, and healing and growth. These are the five. What is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of the key principles of what an embodied practice looks like. Okay, and I wrote down here some of the ways in which hoodoo and other ancestral practices meet the metric, okay, for these best practices, okay, these KPIs, if we want to use this language. Here's the metric or the rubric that we're going to use to judge whether or not we're meeting these principles, okay? And the rubric or the way in which hoodoo embodies these principles. So let's take body awareness, for example. Body awareness has to do with noticing tension in your body, with noticing the sensations in your body, and noticing your breath. Okay. One of the ways that we release tension in hoodoo is through movement, through the ring shout. Okay. There's a ring shout on Sunday morning or the juke joint on Saturday night, right? Whether it's gospel on Sunday or blues on Saturday, it don't matter. The point is to bring awareness and a body awareness into your consciousness. A lot of spiritual practices, what we would call New Age spiritual practices, are those that seem to want to take you out of your body. You want to go into the fifth dimension, or go into the ether, or go into the Akashic records. I hate to be the one to tell you this, and I'm going to hold my hand and I'm pretend like it's your hand when I tell you. But you can only imagine the fifth dimension. You can only imagine the Akashic records. And imagination is divine. So I'm not diminishing the experience. But these are all things that are happening in the realm of your imagination or in the realm of your cosmic consciousness. Okay. But guess where you got to live it? Here in this 3D flesh. Okay. You may be able to have a 5D moment where your consciousness is connected to the ether and to the higher realms and to the different cosmic beings and all that, but you still got to live it here in this flesh. That's what it means to have an embodied practice. It means that no matter how far you go in spirit, you can get shot in your chest. Somebody can pop you in your chest like Mother Stacks used to do, or Mother Boyd and them. They would pop you in your chest. For those of you who don't know who Mother Boyd and Mother Stacks are, let me say it like this. You've watched Doctor Strange, and when the Ancient One popped Dr. Strange in his chest and separated his astral body from his physical body. You may have that kind of experience, okay, where you on the floor and you okay, and you are just out and you drunk in the spirit. When you get sober, you're going to have to live that out, that experience. You're going to have to live it in your body, in your flesh, in this third dimension, okay? The only way you get off this rock is through the process and ritual of death. No matter how far you go into the other realms, baby, you got to come back into your body. And so that's why you got to make that a happy place to live. You got to make your body a place where your spirit and soul want to be. You know, so you don't long for, so many of us are longing for other worlds, and I'm longing to go back home, or I'm longing to I just don't want to be on earth anymore because earth is ghetto, and I want to leave and I want to go somewhere else. Well, the only way you can do that is to cease your bodily function, because your body is in fact the CPU, as it were, that is engaging with the world around you. So your spiritual knowledge, your no matter how deep you are, you may be a great Hasanusi, you still got to live in this body, in this flesh, in this dimension. So your spiritual practice has to be more than just lip service. It has to be more than just doing rituals for the sake of doing rituals and getting dressed up for the sake of getting dressed up and all that. It's got to mean something in your day-to-day life. The embodied practice is how we use our body sensations to cultivate awareness. Where? In the body. Self-regulation. Where? In the body. Connection to yourself. Where? In your body. And so what you feel in your body, absolutely, especially when you're in practice, it makes a difference, and you have to pay attention to it, because it is giving you divine communication. The body is very intelligent, okay? And that's why the first principle is body awareness. You got to recognize where and the practice can help you recognize where you're holding tension. Where you're holding stress and your hips are tight and your joints are tight and your shoulders is tight. And instead of sitting up, tall, you always sitting over, hunched over. You gotta, your practice will bring attention to that if it's an embodied practice. Your mind-body connection, which is how we connect to the divine in our bodies, and we do that through prayer, we do that through chanting, we do that through singing, through dancing, we do it through all of these things to bring about the mind-body connection. Self-regulation. If your spiritual practice does not help you regulate your emotions, you need to throw the whole practice away. You saying that you a hoodoo saint, or you saying you want to practice ancestral veneration, or an ATR of some sort, but your emotional regulation, your impulse control is out of control, you have no self-control, then you are not engaging with an embodied practice. You have not brought the information that you get when you have your spiritual experiences. You've not allowed that to minister to you and to move through your life. One of the issues that I had, even when I was in the church, one of the issues that I had with church was the every Sunday thing. Having church every Sunday, and then you got business meeting on Monday, and then the mother's board meeting on Tuesday, and then you got Bible study on Wednesday, then you got intercessors on Thursday, then you got corporate prayer on Friday, and that's mandatory. Then you got rehearsals and men's day and women's day and whatever else on Saturday. Then you got 2-3 services on Sunday. When do you get a chance to embody your practice? When do you get a chance to live what you've learned? And this is one of the reasons why I don't say, oh, we're going to do this every week. I do it as I'm led and as I'm guided. But it is more to this than just sitting and hearing and learning and getting a good feeling and feeling the goosebumps or whatever else you may feel when spirit comes up. If you are not bringing that into your daily life, even the scripture says, give us this day our daily bread. What does that mean? Every day I am taking my spiritual food and I'm using it to live my life, to bring balance to my emotions and regulation to my nervous system. So what that also means is that there will be times where you will be having a moment, as we all do, where it might feel overwhelming or something may have happened and it's just your heart is broken and you find yourself weeping and you feel depression creeping up on you like a Negro at the club trying to holler. You feel depression trying to creep up on you and be like, hey, girl, you know I got you. Because that's what depression says. Depression be like, you know I got you. I'm not going to ask nothing of you. I'm just going to let you lay down and I'm going to whisper these not so sweet nothings in your ear. But your embodied practice says, no, I know that I can talk to my ancestors because my ancestors are always with me. And I know that if I'm a cry, at least let me cry at my altar. If I'm a cry, at least let me light a candle. If I can't light a candle, let me light some incense. If I can't light some incense, let me clap my hands. If I can't clap my hands, let me sing a song. If I can't sing a song, let me just rock and moan a little bit and say, oh God, oh granny, oh auntie, whoever it is that you're calling on, and bring it to them. That is an embodied practice. It means that you are not separating your spiritual practice from your daily lived experience. It is important that if you're going to engage in spiritual practice, that you do it with your whole heart, your whole mind, and your whole body. You're going to have to do it when you don't feel like doing it. You're going to have to do it when you don't want to do it, when all you want to do is lay in bed because maybe you don't feel so good. But it's all right, though, because you know that what you're doing is for your whole being. It's for your whole being, your spirit, your soul, and your body. And I don't know nobody that hasn't engaged with it, that has been feeling that poorly and hasn't engaged with their spiritual practice that doesn't feel better afterwards. You may be tired, but you feel a little better. The pain that you had before. Listen, right now, even as I speak to you, I am operating physically on about maybe 69%. Okay, because I don't feel great, but I'm here to tell you that even as I speak to you now, even as I get into this message that Spirit wanted me to share with you, even as I do the things that I know that I'm supposed to do, I feel a little bit better. I'm up to about 75%. And that's just from me talking. That's just from me talking. So you've got to understand that this practice of hoodoo is not just about learning facts and learning songs. You'll never learn all the songs. You'll never learn all the prayers. You'll never learn all the dances and all the rhythms and everything. You got to do what you know so that you can effectively cultivate awareness within yourself, develop that self-regulation, and build that connection within yourself and with others. So this takes us to presence and mindfulness, which is one of the principles. Presence and mindfulness. How do we do that? How do we embody that principle of presence and mindfulness? Well, one of the things is working the altar. When you work your altar, you have to be present in the moment, right? Because, I mean, just practically speaking, you've got fire, you've got smoke, things that are flammable, right? In your altar space. So you've got to be present. If you're doing spell work, you've got to be fully present. You can't have, what's that song that say your body's here with me, but your mind is on the other side of town? That's not going to work if you're trying to cultivate and build an embodied practice. You've got to be present in the moment. So that means when you go to your altar and when you start conjuring and praying and you start calling on your ancestors and calling on the name of the Lord, if that's who you pray to, or calling on Allah, or whoever, whatever your deity is that you're calling on, you got to be there 100%, because any division within yourself leaves you open to spiritual attack. One of the ways that we are most susceptible to spiritual attack is by not being fully present in our practice. We allow ourselves to be distracted. We allow ourselves to we don't create the sacred space, the sacred container that's going to hold our attention for the time that we are engaging with spirit. Okay? It's all right if you're late. It's okay. We'll post some clips for you. You've got to create the container for your practice. And that container requires mindfulness and presence. So if you're doing altar work, you've got to be very clear. That's why we turn off the TV and we turn off the radio and we put our phones on silent and everything. It's not because that spirit can't handle the noise. That's for us so that we can be present with spirit. Spirit always shows up 100% authentic. We're the ones that struggle with that. And so the practice of hoodoo, of altar work and ancestral veneration is designed to bring you into a practice of mindfulness, into a practice of intuitive mindfulness. And what I have in mind when I say that is sometimes you will engage with your ancestors and there won't be many words to say. You'll just be sitting there or standing there. And you close your eyes and you can feel your beloveds pressing in on you and around you and through you. And it's just a communion. And you can't have communion if you are distracted. Okay? And your daily rituals, these are the things that require you to be present. And the more you practice presence and the more you practice mindfulness, the easier it will become to be present and to be mindful and not to have your mind full of things, but to be fully engaged with what's going on. Okay. And so the final principle here is healing and growth. Is your practice manifesting healing and growth? Are you the same person that you were when you first started? Are you still easily triggered? Are you unaware of your triggers, or have you become aware of your triggers? What are some other ways in which you are seeing growth in your life? Are you more open to receive love? Have you changed your relationship with money and finances, or with the opposite sex? Or have some of your phobic ideas been challenged and you find yourself being more open-minded, before maybe you were queerphobic or transphobic or homophobic or fatphobic, or you were colorist, or you were a misogynist or a misandrist, or whatever the case. Has healing been manifested in your life, and growth? And yes, physical healing. Has your diet changed? Have you improved within your own healing journey? Now, that for some of us, we have chronic issues, autoimmune issues that are the result of living in this land, especially for us as Black women, right? We have the highest rate of autoimmune disease than any other demographic of people, and that's because of repressed anger and not really speaking our minds. As much as people think that we talk too much, we really don't say what's on our minds most of the time. And by doing so, we create an atmosphere of dis-ease within our own bodies. I am somebody who is currently healing from autoimmune issues as well. But I bring those to the altar, and I bring the knowledge and everything that I've learned and that my ancestors teach me. I bring that to my daily life. So I have my ginger root and celery water. I have my tonics and my potions and my things that I know are supposed to bring physical healing to the body. Okay? But also to bring peace to the mind. Because sometimes we say, well, I'm doing these things, I'm doing the rituals, I'm doing the ceremonies, I'm praying the prayers, I'm feeding my ancestors, and life is still hard. Well, baby, life gonna be hard if you think life is hard. There's gonna always be challenges. We are stolen people on stolen land. Nothing about our experience here is supposed to be easy. But if you do experience ease, it's because you have a spiritual awareness that all of this is temporary and that we won't always be in this situation. Your situation is temporary. I know you're like, well, I don't have the money to pay my bills, but you will. Or you won't. And I'm here to tell you that there's nothing that your ancestors can't see you through. I was homeless for 5 years. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And when I say homeless, I don't mean that in the cute sense of the word. I mean that in the living on the street, don't know where I'm going to eat, don't know how I'm going to get myself together. Homeless. 5 years. And I had my ancestors, and I said, what the hell is going on? And they said, do this, do that, do this. And I said, I don't want to do that. That's the thing I don't want to do. That's the one thing I don't want to do. And they said, well, if you want to get out of this situation, you're going to have to go that way. And they were with me. And sure enough, within a year of me making that decision, within less than a year, 8 months of me making the decision to do the thing that I absolutely did not want to do, my whole situation turned around. My whole situation turned around. And I'm reporting to you live from my home. Okay? And so the idea of worrying and the idea of stressing and the idea of, holding on to the expectation of what the outcome is going to look like. These are things that this practice will help you resolve. Okay? It will help you resolve you needing to control the outcome. It will help you resolve you needing to hold on so tightly to an expectation, because you got to literally take it to the altar and leave it there. You've got to integrate the wisdom that you receive in your spiritual experiences. You've got to integrate that into your daily life so that your daily life can improve. The quality of your life can improve. So what are some examples of an embodied practice? So mindful movements such as yoga is an embodied practice. Those of you who practice yoga, you know that it's more than just stretching. It is breathing. It is meditation. It is stillness. It is all of these other things, the rhythm and the flow that help you in the rest of your life. In Hoodoo, we have things like the ring shout. Or if you're in a church where you have an intentional praise, right? Not just a spontaneous praise, but an intentional praise. I'm dancing because there's something that I need. I'm dancing for my breakthrough. I'm dancing to shift the energy in my spirit. I'm dancing for a reason. That's mindful movement. That's different than a spontaneous praise. Mindful movement says, I'm going to get up and I'm going to dance because I want to connect X, Y, Z, whatever. Okay? Somatic practices are examples of an embodied practice, and that is like breath work. So the breathing, the deep breathing, your fire breathing, full body breathing, any type of breath work is somatic work. Deep tissue massages, regular deep tissue massages that are held in a therapeutic environment are a type of an embodied practice. Sacred movement. There are many, I like to call them pussy princesses. I mean, not princesses, priestesses. The womb priestesses out there. And they teach us about like belly dancing and twerking and gyrating the hips and moving the body and getting all of the energy up out of the body in order to free up space and to bring alignment. This is a practice of, and this is an embodied practice because it's not just about the movement. It's about the breath, and it's about your mental state, and it's about your energy, and it's about bringing all these things into alignment. Okay? And in Hoodoo, we do that through singing, again, the ring shout, through clapping, and through like chanting. So when we just clap, and it's 75 of us clapping. And we don't have no music. But what we're doing is we are bringing our energy into this space. And even as you clap, you ain't got to say nothing, but you'll feel it in your body. That is a part of an embodied practice because you're clapping, yes, but you're also bringing your cells into alignment. You're bringing your mindfulness and your presence of mind into the space that you're clapping, and the stomping is a response to the clapping, and so it's a call and response, and it's a conversation between me and spirit. And you can clap yourself free. You can clap yourself happy, as the old folks used to say. You know, they used to say, if you want joy, leap for it. And sometimes that was the hardest thing for me to do because I dealt with such heavy depression growing up. And I would just literally feel like a ton of bricks. I can't stand up. I can't jump. But somebody would come and they would lift me up, and tears would be falling. And next thing you know, I'm jumping over in a corner. And I'm hollering, or I'm in the floor laid out, and I'm releasing that grief, and I'm releasing that heaviness, and I'm releasing it, and I'm bringing in the joy, and I'm calling in the joy. That is an embodied practice. That's one of my favorite aspects of embodiment work is somatic work, because so much of what we do in ancestral practice, so much of what we do in ancestral veneration is centered around the body, the dancing, the moving, the humming, the chanting, the breathing, the preaching. When the preacher tunes up and he hits that E flat, and they get to going, and next thing you know, the tie done came unloose, or she done took the hat off, or whatever, and sweat is running down her body because he or she is healing themselves as they are preaching to you. Case in point. Okay, this is healing work for me. All right, this Sunday is for me. Okay, voice work, which goes into singing and chanting and preaching, but storytelling, telling our stories. We witness storytelling be a very powerful tool in the movie Sinners. Yes, Sammy was a singer, but he was a storyteller. He was a griot. And it was in his voice that he was able to tap into the ancestral realm, past, present, and future, and call and have all of these different aspects of our experience as Black people being manifested in that moment. Our joy, our spiritual connection has always been embodied, a full embodiment experience. We've always danced until we were out of breath. We've always sang until our throats were dry. We've always hollered until our voices was gone. We've always clapped until our palms was red, and stomped until our shoes was dirty from the dirt. We've always done that. And that was not just for the experience itself. It is what helped us hold on through some extremely rough times, through perilous times. It's been our ability to bring spirit into our bodies, and then to use that wisdom that we gain in our mundane lives, our daily lives. And it's that connection. We saw that with, and I'm not trying to make this about sinners, but it's the most, popular thing right now. And it's very relatable to what I'm talking about, because we saw Annie, a whole hoodoo woman in her hoodoo hut, living her life, but it took nothing for her to light a candle. It took nothing for her to offer them babies the high John root that they was looking for. It took nothing for her to tap into her spirit. She always had her bones with her, and she was able to discern what the end result of the night's goings on were going to be, because it's an embodied practice. I take my hoodoo with me wherever I go. I take my conjure with me wherever I go. I take my root work with me, my spell work with me wherever I go. And that brings us to grounding exercises. Now, we understand grounding. A lot of us understand grounding is like going and putting your feet in the grass, or putting your feet in the dirt, or hugging a tree. And all of those are excellent forms of grounding. The earth is an amazing, amazing, amazing being, and she receives all of that excess energy, and she is able to transmute that for us. But there are other ways of grounding. One of the ways that we practice grounding in hoodoo is by going to the river. By going to the river, by being submerged and immersed in the river water, by singing by the water, by singing to the water, bringing offerings to the water. These are grounding experiences. Anything that you do with the earth, rituals at the river are done with the earth. The earth is a participant in the ritual with us. And that energy that grounds us so that we can reach those high spiritual heights, so that we can reach those high otherworldly experiences, but still be grounded and rooted here. Because, like I said earlier, it don't matter Whether you talking to the chief of the Galactic Federation in your spiritual experience, you still got to come back here and live. You still live on earth in this third dimension. You cannot escape the third dimension by being all deep and spooky. You are going to be here until your breath leaves your body. Okay? You're going to leave here. Thank you for all the gifts and everything. You're going to leave your body once and for all. And then when that happens, maybe you can go on into another dimension. But you know, that's another teaching on what happens after you die, what we believe happens after you die. Because ultimately that's all we have is a belief of what happens after you die. And we have stories of people who maybe have died and come back. But yeah, most of us just have beliefs about what happens after you die. But what I believe happens, I believe that the soul continues on and it continues on. And so if you didn't learn mindfulness in your flesh, you're going to have to learn it in the ancestral realm, and I'm not sure that that's going to be easier to do. Earth is a school, and that's one of the reasons why I love Hoodoo, because Hoodoo is an earth teacher. It teaches us how to not try to escape. It's not about escaping. It's about making the best of the situation that we are in and improving said situation over time. Okay? Hoodoo is not an escapism. Ceremony is not escapism. Ritual is not escapism. We are not looking to escape. We are looking to be fortified while we're in it, because we trust and know and believe that there is a way through. We understand that there are spiritual processes, and sometimes suddenly happens after a very long time of praying. The Bible says that Paul and Silas prayed and sang songs all night long. And then at midnight, there suddenly happened, and the prison doors were open. And that is, in fact, a spiritual principle. Sometimes you have to pray, and you've got to be consistent in your practice, and you've got to be consistent in your altar work, and you've got to be consistent in your manifestation work before you see the actual end result, because there are other things that have to come into alignment. Even in our own bodies, we are systems built on other systems, right? Your circulatory system is built on your respiratory system, is built on your musculoskeletal system, is built on your digestive system, is built on your central nervous system. All of these systems are working together, okay, to keep you alive. And spiritually, Hoodoo and any other embodied practice is the same way. It is a system that's built on other systems. So it's not just the ring shout. It's not just prayer and deliverance service. It's not just conjuring spirit. It's not just community work. It's not just ancestral veneration. It's not just the healing potions and the tonics and the herbs. It's all of it. All of it coming together in your body. With your presence, with your mindful presence is what's happening. And that's what makes it powerful. What makes Hoodoo powerful is, in fact, your intention, your energy, your ashe. That's why we, like I said earlier, I feel like I'm repeating myself now. That's why we cut off all of the distractions. That's why we come in. That's why I say at the beginning, come on in with your hearts and your minds clear. Come on in, come on in. Because if you come and your heart and your mind is on this and on that, and you doing a prosperity ritual, but in your mind you thinking, I ain't gonna never be able to pay all these bills, you're gonna get what you get. And then the ritual probably isn't gonna work for you, because you have not brought your whole self to the ritual. And you say, well, I am worried about my finances. I don't want to pretend like I'm not worried. Tell your ancestors, listen, call on them, greet them, honor them, and then say, look, I need some money. I need this need met. I need this because it's worrying me and I'm stressing, and I know I shouldn't be stressing because I know that I come from abundance. I know I am abundant, but I am worried. And it's like in the Bible where God told Abraham he was going to have a baby, and he was old, and he said, Lord, I believe, help thou my unbelief. Right through here. I believe that it's possible. I'm just not certain that it's possible for me. And these are the things that you say to your people. That's why it's important to be honest in your practice. That's why it's important to be completely 100% present in your practice so that you can bring your burdens and your worries, lay them down by the riverside like the old people used to say. You can bring those things, and in exchange for that, you will receive insight. You will receive instructions. You will receive impressions, things like, oh, your imagination will be triggered. Like, ooh, this is something that I can do to generate some income. And go from there. Like, it's literally so simple. When we talk about dealing with your ancestors in Hoodoo, you talk to them like they're there because they are. You know, it doesn't have to be a lot of big words. Talk to them like they're sitting at the table with you. You know, talk to your grandmothers and your grandfathers and your aunts and your uncles and things, and lay your head on their spiritual lap like you used to do when you was little, or like you've always wanted to do. And then if you need to cry about some things that's fueling your belief about why you can't get no money, you probably got some grief under there and some sadness under there because somebody probably told you wasn't worthy way long ago when you was little, and that part of your brain is still holding on to it, and you release that, and then next thing you know, like I said, you get a way to make some money that doesn't violate your own personal code. But you got to bring all of you. You got to bring all of you to the altar. All of you to your practice. You understand what I mean when I say the altar? I'm not necessarily just talking about your ancestral altar that you may have in your home. I'm talking about your practice, of which your altar is a manifestation. Your practice within yourself, your embodied practice. You say, oh, well, you know, I go to church, but I'm not religious. Well, then you're not practicing an embodied form of your religious belief. Oh, I go to ceremony, but I'm just there to, you know, to assist with the practical things, setting up tables and chairs and stuff. I'm not really into all of that. Okay, then it's not an embodied practice for you. It's not real. It hasn't become real for you. But if you are like me and your ancestors talk to you all day, all night, if they send you dreams, if you see them in messages, you see them in birds and bees and butterflies that come your way, you see them in the synchronicities and the deja vus, and you acknowledge all of these things as being a part of your spiritual reality, oh, well, then you're getting into something embodied. If you're dancing and you're doing a ring shout and it's more than just physical exercise, but you know that you are conjuring spirit, you are creating a portal. You know that when you light your candles on your altar and you burn your herbs, that you are creating a portal and that you are creating a point of intersection between spirit and flesh where we can commune with each other. If you understand that, oh, well, then now we're getting into what we're talking about. We're getting into the embodiment of your spirituality. You are the embodiment of your spirituality. Okay? You are the juju. You are the magic. You are the special sauce of your practice. And so when you come to your ancestors, you have to come to them authentically, 100%. All your weirdness, all your quirks, all your idiosyncrasies, bring it all. Because all of that is who your ancestors are wanting to use. They want to use all of who you are, not just parts of who you are. And that's one of the reasons why I love, like I said, why I love hoodoo. And why I will be a hoodoo till I die. It doesn't matter what else I've been initiated into. I'm an initiated Sangoma. I'm an ordained minister, all of that. But I'm a hoodoo till I die, baby. Because there's spiritual significance to most of the things that I as a hoodoo do. That you as a hoodoo practitioner do. There's spiritual significance to the way we put onions in our baby socks when they have fevers, and it draws the fever out of their body down through their feet into the onion. There is spiritual significance to why we don't put our pocketbooks on the floor. There is spiritual significance as to why we clean and wash our houses in a certain way, and we wash our windows and we sing. Even the universal Black experience of putting on gospel music and cleaning your house on Sunday morning, that is a ritual. That is a ritual based in hoodoo, which is based in our collective understanding that spiritual cleanliness is closely related to physical cleanliness. There's spiritual significance to every single thing we do. I don't wrap my head because I particularly like my head being wrapped. I wrap my head out of reverence for my office, and reverence for the anointing, and reverence for the energy and the ancestors that are around, and also as a form of spiritual protection. Because I don't like having my mind read. And there are people who will scan. I call them wave runners. You got wave runners out there, and they put on their spiritual cerebral hat, and they're able to pinpoint people who are vulnerable in their spirituality, and then they go and they catch them like Pokemon. And that's why I wrap my head up all the time. And if my head ain't wrapped up, I got a hat on, something to cover this crown. Okay? But I also wrap my head because my ancestors wrap their head. And sometimes we do things just simply because it's an ancestral practice and we don't understand why. But the more you do it, the understanding will come. You know? Let's see. There's plenty of things that I didn't understand. Like, I didn't understand, why we did certain things certain ways. And it's like, oh, well, that's the way it's always been done. And it's like, but why? And then I would get that you'll understand it better by and by, which is frustrating for me personally because I like to know. Okay, I'm a very inquisitive person, and I like to know why. Okay, I like to know why, but sometimes I'm not able to know why right then and there. It's just about doing. And then once I do, then it's like, oh, okay. All right. So, listen, I am almost out of time. I want to say thank you so much for everybody who sent badges and hearts, and everybody who made the sojourn to connect with me here today. I thank you so much. If you have questions, you can DM me in my inbox, and I'll be glad to get back to you. And we're going to see you next time. Okay? Tokozani, which means to rejoice. Tokozani. Togoza.